Not all mechanics are created equal. The difference in price can often be explained by levels of competence. These bolts that you can find the streets littered with, especially where there's heavy traffic, curbside, just look around intersections. These bolts and nuts held your wheels on your vehicle. You kinda need these bolts on. You don't have too many spare of these. These broke off not because the bolt was faulty at the point of manufacture. These broke off because they got over tightened or over torqued by power tools, either pneumatic or electric. When an impact wrench is put on it and these nuts are tightened, and a repeated rattling and prolonged rattling on the tool, tick 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 tick, hammering on the nuts, over tightens the bolts. Look at the similarities between the two. How they failed is classic and is very similar. This distance here on this one is about the same as this distance here on this one. This is the thickness of your wheel. These bolts or studs are coming out from the hub, and you attach your wheel with these nuts onto these studs, and that's how the wheel is held on the hub. The similarities between these are striking. And you can see there is a part of a thread here, and there's a vertical break line down. Here is part of this last surviving thread, vertical break line down. The bolt here is higher on this side than on this side. Same on this. The bolt is higher here and lower here. So what happened was that with the over tightening and the impact hammer tool rattling on the bolt, introduced a microscopic break, a hairline crack along the thread somewhere here on the bolt, same there. And in use, when the wheel is rotating, the position of these bolts slightly change. They are above the point of rotation. The point of rotation would be the center point on the axle. So sometimes they are above the axle, sometimes they are in front of it, sometimes they are below it, and sometimes they are behind it. This constant change of direction loads this bolt slightly differently, and on top of it there are the acceleration part, and there is the braking part as well. So braking pulls the bolt this way and acceleration pulls the bolt this way. The constant change of direction of forces causes a classic mode of metal failure, metal fatigue. The hairline crack from this side, and you can see it's a nice smooth surface, was spreading inside gradually. Eventually more of the bolt's cross section was separated, and it worked its way through until there was only that much left, and this is all ductile failure, and then it just breaks off, snaps off. Brittle failure for the last part. Same on this one, although this is a little more corroded due to exposure, and it's been in the gutter for years probably, I don't know. But so that's what the textured surface is about. But the hairline crack started here on this side, and it worked its way through, and then the last part there, the raised part, it just snaps off there. So over tightening and over torquing causes this, and what you need to do now is you need to buy a new stud bolt for the hub, take the wheel off again. But if the wheel gets installed in the same way, the new bolt will be also being over tightened. It's also going to have a hairline crack in it, so you're going to be back in the same corner pretty soon. And it's probable that if one failed like this, all of the stud bolts have the same condition, because probably they were tightened by the same mechanic with the same level of skills. So that's the story of these bolts. These are not the manufacturer's defects, they are totally man-made at the point of installation by over-tightening. This is classic metal fatigue, and you can do the same with the piece of wire. You know that the piece of wire, you know, when you bend it back and forth, when you change the direction of the force on the wire, after a while there's going to be a hairline crack, and that's going to be working its way through, and it's going to snap and break. That's how you break a piece of wire. Same thing, just a little thicker wire. And what's causing the back and forth and the change of direction in the loading or the forces on it is the acceleration, braking, and the constant rotation on the wheel as well. And there's also cornering. When you're cornering with it, it's being sideways loaded as well. Now most of the forces are taken up by the tires deformation, but to some degree the wheel also bends and deforms, and the rim, even though it's very thick, I know, but to a microscopic small amount, they all deform a bit flexibly, so they return to the original shape and size, but they all bend and deflect a bit. Those minute changes are enough that in a few months or a few years time these things break. Not only on vehicles, but it also applies to building and construction, anything. So if you're bolting together beams, steel beams, girders, concrete formwork, anything, if you over tighten and over torque anything, that's what's going to happen.